Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of I Hate Your Taste in Movies. This is a movie podcast where we force our friends to watch the movies that mean a lot to us and have them rip them apart. I'm Jackie.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Austin.
You can follow us on Twitter at I Hate Your Taste and on Instagram at Hate Your Taste Pod. This week, we're doing a Jackie pick, a spooky pick, and I chose Shaun of the Dead. Yay!
Yay!
Everybody loves Shaun of the Dead. So I chose Shaun of the Dead because it is one of the very few movies that are horror themed, but that I can watch without freaking out. It is one of my favorites. I've seen it many, many times. I have the DVD, which is pretty dated, but pretty cool. And I think it really hit the sweet spot for comedy horror for me. But you guys have both seen it, so I want to know what you thought of it.
I had seen it a long time ago. I didn't really remember too much of it. But yeah, I remember enjoying it. I don't have any, long history with it. It's just one of those movies that I've seen, laughed, thought was funny. That's pretty much it. That's my history with it.
I loved it, of course. You guys know I'm a big zombie fan, and so when it came out, I saw it. I loved it. I also own the DVD. I actually own a DVD 3-pack of the whole Cornetto trilogy, so this, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. And I was trying to think if I had any personal connection story to this movie, and all I could think of was the fact that when I was in school, it was my final year of journalism school, and for some reason we had to build a website. I don't remember the purpose of this, but you could build a website around anything you wanted, and I picked horror movies.
Of course.
And it was a white website with blood splatter, and where you clicked on the blood splatter took you to the different web pages. But anyway, I named the website the Winchester because I was let's all go to the Winchester. So that is my personal connection to Shaun of the Dead, that I did a school project, not in high school, as an almost adult, fucking working in a newspaper, and they're just here you go, build a website. School's weird. Anyway.
This was the first Simon Pegg movie I ever saw. And but I didn't in my mind, he is Shaun. He's not Simon Pegg, I identify him so strongly as being Shaun from Shaun of the Dead. And now he's done so many other things. And I'm like, good for you, my little friend. Shaun's really grown up. I also have to tell you, when I watched the DVD, the 2 trailers ahead of it were for Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle and Blade Trinity.
Oh, awful.
Damn. It is a really fun game when you watch old DVDs to try to guess what movies could possibly be in front of it. It's super fun.
These were very unexpected, and also Ryan Reynolds is in both of them. And I was like, did he sponsor this movie?
Weird.
And also, did you know this movie's rated R?
That's not really surprising, I guess, right?
Yeah.
There's not that much R-ratedness in it, though. I guess maybe a little bit of violence.
Probably for language.
Yeah, they pull out intestines.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, it's not a super gory because it's more comedic. They're hitting zombies with bats, but you're not seeing a ton of gore, but I guess there's a little.
Well, yeah, I'm wondering how many F-bombs are in it, because isn't that...
Yeah, they say the C word, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But that's British.
I was going to say, but in America, not so British.
Because I think, R rating is two fucks or something? You gotta use them sparingly.
Or no, I thought it was, you can have 1 fuck and stay PG-13, but if you have more than that, you go up to R.
Right. So that would be my guess as to why it's R.
Yeah. Too many fucks.
Definitely say it a few times, yep.
So I don't like zombie movies. And so I'm not as just instantly in love with this movie as Jen is.
Jen, did you eat chicken wings?
Oh, you should.
Oh my god! I ate chicken earlier today. I didn't even think about it, and I did!
So weird.
That wasn't even a conscious connection. I was just let me get some fried chicken and watch Shaun of the Dead.
Subconsciously I need to eat chicken.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Nasty. All right, I guess we'll just jump into it. We've all seen it, but I guess Austin hadn't seen it in a while. So that's why we chose this one, or I chose this one. So to summarize, this movie is about the zombie apocalypse, and it's following one mild-mannered electronics store employee named Shaun, who is pretty stuck in his life. The zombie metaphor is hit over the head with a bat. He is a zombie in his life. He is very unmotivated and unambitious and pretty bored and lame. And then the zombie apocalypse happens, and he's kind of forced in a comedic way to become a hero, rescue his girlfriend, rescue some of his friends and parents and people, and try and handle the situation. Like Jen said, it's one of the Cornetto trilogy. It's those guys. I don't even know if they have a name as a comedic group, but Simon Pegg and his friend, Ed.
Yeah, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and then the director/writer, Edgar Wright.
Thank you, Jen. It's one of their movies. So I'm sure everyone's seen one of these guys' movies, but it is so funny, and I find it to be very clever. Maybe my bar is low, but I'm like, ooh, look at that moment. So clever. Anyway, that's the movie. That's the summary of the plot. It starts with, I guess this is kind of the opening, where Shaun is being dumped by his girlfriend, Liz. And immediately, I feel like everybody has been this girl. Where you're dating this guy and you're like, oh, I just really wish you had any ambition of any kind in any way. I mean, I'd even be like, cool, your loser garage band is your ambition. Cool, as long as you have something that you're trying to achieve. Shaun does not.
Yeah. He doesn't even really have like a hobby or anything. Like you said, it's not even like a loser garage band thing. He's like, I have my sad job and I come home and I sit around with my friend and then we do the same thing tomorrow. And it's like, aren't you bored of your life? I'm bored of my life and I'm more than that.
It's really obvious what they're trying to say. It's
Yeah.
like every movie that's about zombies almost has an undertone about capitalism or consumerism.
Yeah.
And this one does too. But this is more like how we all sleepwalk through our lives, in my mind. It's like we're told what to do every second of our life and we follow this plan and it all means nothing. Whew, we're getting dark immediately, right off the bat. Here we go.
Well,
Life
no,
is
I
now.
mean, they do hammer the point home, like, pretty obviously right off the bat in, like, the opening sequence where you see, like, the supermarket checkout, or cashiers, like, they're all mindlessly moving together. It's people walking down the street, hobbling around like zombies. Like, it's pretty clear right off the start where it's like, see what we're doing? See, we're all zombies.
But it is like interesting to watch it now that we are like in a non-zombie pandemic and kind of being like, oh, we're in Shaun's place in a way. Like, we were all the mindless zombies and now the world is ending and we're trying to figure out if we are still mindless zombies or are we heroes somehow or are we dead? I don't know. Maybe it's just the place I'm in lately, but watching this I was like, everything's too real right now and I can't handle it.
Yeah, this isn't a great time to be watching
Totally, I wrote
pandemic-based
that.
movies.
I wrote that too. I'm like, this opening is too real because I definitely am just like the people shuffling down the street mindlessly, like in tune to music. And that's every day of my life I do that. It's made me more aware too, walking around my neighborhood with the dogs. I'm looking at people and I'm all like, oh my God, like we don't even see each other. We don't even exist to each other. It's just complete like phones, headphones, eyes down, move.
Yeah.
It's true.
Pretty upsetting when you think about it. So anyway, Shaun lives in his apartment with his college buddy Pete, who's become a responsible dude, and his shitty friend Ed, who is the worst.
He's so bad. He's not remotely, I don't know, he doesn't have any redeeming qualities. I'm sorry.
Right? This entire movie, he doesn't even get a redeeming quality.
No.
Like, he has no growth.
Like,
He
I'm
just
team
becomes
Pete
worse
on this,
and
right? Is that normal? I'm team Pete.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, as I've gotten older, I'm super on Pete's side. And when after Liz dumps Shaun and they're hammered at 4 a.m. and Pete has to work the next day and he comes in and breaks up the party, they're all like, oi, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, he is so correct. You guys, you suck. You're the worst. It is 4 a.m. I don't know if I ever identified with the kids. I've always had this problem with movies. I don't usually identify with the kid character. I'm just like, no, man, quiet down. Go to sleep. I got to go to work in the morning. Like, ever since I was like 14, I'm like, yeah, parents, they know what's up.
Yeah, no, Ed is awful.
Speaking of Ed, like you said, Austin, like he doesn't even get anything redeemable throughout the movie, and that is kind of like surprising that they don't have him have any, I don't know, heroic moment or anything of value to offer, like a suggested plan. Like, he really is just what's holding Shaun back for so much of it. And I know, like, again, that's part of the metaphor of, like, he's not growing up, he's holding on to his childhood and his childhood friend, and he doesn't want to admit that he can't live like that anymore. But I'm like, just as a person, like, Ed sucks. Like, would you be friends with this guy for so long? Like, he needs to get it together.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's interesting that he doesn't really get a redemption arc. He doesn't become heroic in any real way.
All he does, and he does it repeatedly, is really put them in more danger. Always.
Yeah.
Like, he crashes the car because he wants to drive the Jaguar, when, guess what? It'd be nice to probably have two working vehicles, but instead he smashes one up so that they have no choice but to take Philip's Jaguar.
Yeah.
And the other one that really stuck out to me this time, they're driving in the car. Shaun's stepdad has been bit. He becomes a zombie. But the people in the back seat are trapped because the child locks are engaged. And then Ed is just staring at them through the window, and they're like, open the door. And he's just standing there watching them. Liz finally comes around and opens the door and lets him out. But no one addresses that. No one even talks about it. I'm like, did he freeze? Or was he actually like having a psychotic moment where he's like, I'm going to just watch what happens?
I noticed that as well, because I'm like, God, like, that's insane. Like, is he just letting them die? Does he want them to die? And I had that same kind of moment where I'm like, is he thinking this group is too big? We can't take care of all these people. Let's thin the herd and leave them behind. But even if they did something like that, where, you know, Ed as a character is getting a little more cutthroat throughout it, I would consider that a character arc, but they don't really lean into that. I think that might just be me sort of applying some sort of villainous thought process to him because I'm used to assholes in movies.
Yeah, no, I think he's just straight up a dumbass. And there's something to be said for freezing and panic in a situation like that, but
we've all done it.
Yeah, but I don't think he had any thought process.
Also, Shaun was in the back seat, and I don't think he would let Shaun die.
Right.
He's obsessed with Shaun.
True.
So I guess there's a zombie apocalypse. I haven't seen a ton of horror or of zombie movies, but from what I can establish, this happens in every zombie movie where like they won't just sit down and listen to all the people that are explaining what's going on. So like anytime Shaun passes like a radio, there's something going on explaining what's happening. He's flipping through the channels and they're explaining what's happening, but he keeps cutting them off just before he hears the information that he needs.
Can we just talk for a second about how you obviously know this is a zombie apocalypse movie going in, but the way Shaun's going about his life and all the little clues that are stacking up saying that something horrible is happening, and he's like not noticing any of them. Random people running, you know, all his coworkers are sick, people passing out, sick people on the bus. Like they put all these little clues everywhere, and he just keeps walking past them, not engaged in the world, not paying attention to anything going on. It takes him so long. And then, like you said, when he goes home and he's kind of starting to become aware that there's a problem, he's still flipping through all the channels. And then it has every channel. If you put the words from every channel together, it makes a sentence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's telling you what's happening, but he's not. It just seems to underscore that he's completely surface level, not engaged in the world at all. Like there's no depth in his life. He's just bouncing along like a rock.
That TV scene where he's flipping through the channels and it's like spelling out what's happening in like little clips, that's honestly one of my favorite scenes. Like it's just so funny and it's so clever where it's like the news reporter being like, oh, this is happening, and then there is, and the next one's a music video, Panic on the Streets of London. And the next one is like, and they're literally, and then the next one's like the nature documentary, eating each other alive. And you're like, it's telling him there's a zombie movie happening. Even though it's not, it's telling him 10 different things, but it's still spelling it all out. And he just is fucking absolutely clueless, basically, until they find zombies in their home and are like, oh, hey, this has been happening for days. We're morons.
Super morons. You just made me stop for a second, though, and you're like, oh, that's one of my favorite scenes. Because I was like, because there was one thing when I was watching it, and I was like, really stood out to me. And it's when he gets so frustrated that he bites the phone. I was like, I feel like I've done that before. He gets so angry and frustrated. He's just like, argh! And he bites the phone. And I was like, that's me. This is me and Shaun on the same level. But yeah, sorry, I guess you're right. Liz hasn't dumped him in the beginning of the movie. She's just established that she wants more out of the relationship. She wants to do things. She wants to get out in the world. And she wants Shaun to do it with her.
Yeah.
So she gives him an opportunity to make a reservation and take her out to a nice dinner. And in typical Shaun fashion, he blows it. Then, actually, one of my favorite scenes, too, is when he goes to Liz's house to try and convince her to give him yet another chance. And he's like, fine, I'm climbing up the trellis. I'm climbing up to your level. And then they look out the window and you hear this, like, grunting and tussling noise. And then all of a sudden it buzzes again, and he's obviously not able to do it because he's such a schmo. He's like, yeah, can you just let me in? And they're so good in this movie of, like, they set up all these little things that will recur again later, but he'll be the hero at that point. And he can do
there's so much foreshadowing in this movie. It's
like the same exact like geography. Liz's house, the Winchester, like it's everything, every movement, every thought is the same, but the context is different. One is like being a zombie, one is fighting the zombies.
Well, there's also the scene where Liz is telling him like that she wants to do stuff and she wants him to want to do stuff. I think it's in that, or no, it's after she breaks up with him, where Ed and Shaun are getting drunk, and I think Ed lays out the plans for the following day, and it's something like Bloody Mary, and then he has a whole list of things, but just in him describing what they're going to do tomorrow in terms of drinking is the plot of the movie.
Oh.
Yeah. Or there's even the comment like Pete makes something about, why don't you just go live in the shed? And then Ed's like, next time I see him, he's dead. Like, oh, so much foreshadowing.
Yeah.
They say you're dead a lot to random characters. And I like when Ed's consoling him about his breakup, and he's like, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And then a zombie like knocks on the door. Oh, and then probably the best scene in the whole movie is Shaun's walk to the shop.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He walks to the shop on a normal day, and you see all the people he passed, and everything's all set up and nice. And then he walks to the shop on zombie apocalypse morning, and he passes the same people-ish who are now zombies, and like a guy was washing his car, but now the windshield's broken, and a guy was pushing his cart, but now it's tipped over. There's blood all over the shop, and he doesn't even notice because he's hungover. He like slips in it. It doesn't even notice.
Yeah.
I loved it. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, this is amazing.
He passes a guy asks for change on the before day, and then he passes the same guy as a zombie the following day, and it's just like, oh, sorry, I don't have any change.
Yeah. In that moment, what you just described, I think that was the first time I was like, oh, so these zombies really aren't that threatening. If you can just be like, don't have any change and walk past the zombie without getting bit, then they're not really that hard to fight, are they?
I did appreciate that they are slow-moving zombies. I like my zombies slow-moving.
Yeah, I think the zombies are only really a threat when there's the big crowd of them towards the end. When it's just like one, they've been able to handle it. You know, you can escape kind of one or two. You know, you can get stuff done. And then when there's a horde, that's when they're like, okay, we're gonna die.
Yeah, I guess they have to be riled up by sound or something, because at one point they do walk through the horde by pretending to be zombies.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was a little confused by that. Like, how does one beat a zombie in this world? Because I know they do that on The Walking Dead when they have to get through the walkers. They, like, coat themselves in guts and disgusting stuff so that they smell like death and they can get through. But so I couldn't figure out why none of the zombies noticed, like, ooh, fresh meat, just walking through, just because they're, like, grunting and hobbling around.
Yeah, I think because this movie obviously is a comedy and it's not trying to necessarily be like, here's how zombies work. They don't get into that kind of stuff. But you're right that there is no real explanation for how these zombies work. Like, most of the time they don't even notice people.
Yeah, is it sound? Is it smell? Is it sight? Is it...
I think it might be sight, because otherwise they're just fine to do nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that always seems to get them when they're in the Winchester finally and they're theoretically safe is the light, but also the sound, right? Like there was like the arcade machine or something that made them come by. Maybe they're more active at night. Maybe that's it.
Ooh, maybe.
So the only scene that I really remembered from this movie, you mentioned it just briefly there, was the first zombie that they see, Mary from the supermarket.
Bloody Mary.
That was like the only scene I remembered of them just thinking she was super drunk and kind of laughing about it. I do enjoy that scene though, where they're like taking so long to kill her and like going through the records and just throwing individual items at her and missing.
It's
they
like
throw
the
a laundry
record
basket.
Yeah. God, so good. Yeah, the record scene was so funny to me at the time, especially because when this came out was when I was maybe in high school. That's kind of when you're more... I mean, I guess I'm always a pretentious snob, but that's when you're really a pretentious, like, music snob. So I'm like, you could totally see that of being like, oh, I can't throw my good records at her. I have to pick shitty things. I just thought it was so funny. I was like, I know so many people who would do that, who would be like, no, not my Joy Division album. It's priceless.
I don't know why they thought that would work. Like, even for a second, like, okay, one record had a tiny shard in the guy's cheek.
Yeah.
What did that do? Nothing. That whole situation where they're like, she's so drunk, and then she like tackles Shaun, and then Ed goes and gets a camera and starts taking pictures.
Yes.
It's like, Ed, even now you suck so much. And then again, there's another zombie who comes up, and Ed just starts winding the camera.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Remember winding the camera?
I was going to say children who maybe listen to this podcast, who are maybe Austin's age, cameras used to have a little windy thing on it to advance the film.
Film is what we used to take photos and cameras before iPhones existed.
Yeah. And a camera was a separate thing than a phone.
Yeah.
Here's my question, though. What do you think is the best weapon to have during a zombie apocalypse?
A gun,
Is this
probably.
in a world where I know how to use weapons,
Yeah,
or me as a
fair.
person right now?
This is a world, it's the apocalypse has happened. You have your choice of weapons. Say you go to like a sporting goods store. You have to think about durability, reusability, ammo, things like this.
I've always said, again, I can't actually do this myself, but I've always said like a bow and arrow is good because you can reuse the arrows. So you're less likely to run out of ammo. But again, like, if the zombie apocalypse happened right now and you handed me a bow and arrow, I can't load or fire that, so it is useless to me.
I mean, I just very confidently said a gun would be the best weapon, but, like, I don't know how to use a gun. And then you run out of bullets, and, you know, there's always the flaw.
So
and
maybe
we're thinking
like
about
a sword or something would be better, because we don't have to worry about ammo, and it's pretty easy to use.
You have to get pretty close to them, though.
We're thinking about these kind of zombies, like slow-moving Shaun of the Dead zombies.
I mean, Shaun did pretty well with the cricket bat.
Right? I was kind of thinking a bat or a cricket bat would be good.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if we had our choice of anything, I'd probably choose a chainsaw. But, like, I mean...
A fun fact, when they get Liz and David and Diane, when they get them out of the apartment and they're joining the group, they all have weapons in their hands, but Shaun's the only person that's actually hitting zombies, and it's because his weapon was the only one that was padded, so they didn't want to... It would hurt the actors if anyone else hit a zombie.
That's kind of hilarious.
Coming in with my trivia, because I have so few notes on this movie.
I just thought it was them, like, showing that Shaun's really in charge, and the rest of them are really dependent on Shaun, but...
I mean, that works too, but I think it was primarily a practical reason.
Yeah, I also took it like Jackie did, where they were kind of like all talk, where they're like, okay, well, I'll weapon up and do it, and then they get there, and they're like, oh no, I can't do it.
So when Ed and him have finished kind of fighting off the zombie in their home, and they're actually really confronted by what's actually happening in the world, they decide that they have to go help Shaun's mom, who has called. Oh my gosh, sorry, when she calls... sorry. She leaves a message for Shaun at his house, and she's talking about seeing him and hoping he brings Liz the next day. And she goes, does she eat meat? Lots of people don't eat meat these days.
I wrote that in my notes.
Nice. But anyway, he finally gets a hold of his mom. He finds out that his mom is okay, but Philip's been bit. So he knows that his mom is in danger. So the plan is, go get the mom, go get Liz, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, wait for all this to blow over. They decide to take Pete's car.
Yes.
But then they realize that Pete's car is still here, so that means that Pete is probably still here. And it's fine. I mean, they decide not to go upstairs because they don't want to, like, maybe... Either they don't want to confront zombie Pete, or Shaun's afraid of Pete being mad at him, so he doesn't want to go see him. But then, right before they go, he's like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And he just runs up to the bathroom without a care in the world. And zombie Pete's in the bathroom. Like, he doesn't even look.
What was zombie Pete doing? He was just minding his own business in the shower.
I feel like maybe he was stuck in there because zombies are so dumb.
I feel like maybe Pete transformed while he was getting ready or something. So he was like in the shower, and then he turns into zombie self, and he was just like, now I'm a stupid zombie and I don't know what to do or how to get out. I guess I live in this tiny square now.
Yeah, until he's confronted by meat or whatever.
Yeah.
Real life Shaun. And then he's like, he then realizes he can step out of the bathtub.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they decide the first stop, go to see Barbara and Philip.
And we would be remiss not to mention the biggest, probably the most famous line of this movie, which is a huge reference to the zombie movie.
I was gonna say, you guys now understand the reference when on the phone he says, we're coming to get you, Barbara, to the mother.
You know who didn't understand that reference?
You 6 months ago?
George Romero.
Are you serious?
Yeah. He saw a screening of it, obviously, and just that went right over his head.
That's hilarious.
Who is that?
The director of Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, yeah, you should get that. He must have been really old by that point, though.
Not that old. He was still working.
Oh, okay.
Because, not to steal one of Austin's trivia points, but then Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright were in Land of the Dead by George A. Romero as zombies.
Never heard of that one, but...
Yeah.
One of the many of the Dead sequels.
That's the other thing that this movie is totally littered with, is... And I feel like even I got some of the references, but there's just so many references to zombie movies and to horror directors. I'll get into some of those in my trivia. But
okay, good, because I'm sure most of it went over my head.
Yeah.
Get the really obvious things, but the subtle things, I'm just like, nah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal that if that was part of your trivia, Austin, but I do just like that Romero saw it, loved that they were such zombie fans. It was like, come be a zombie for me.
Yeah,
we're
no,
like,
that's
hell
awesome.
yes. So there's definitely a scene, you can watch it on YouTube with the two of them all in their zombie makeup trying to eat a girl.
Awesome.
And
So, they should have just stayed at Barbara's, right? Like, Barbara's house is much nicer than their flat. That's
But
my... There's
her
probably
husband
more
is
food.
turning into a zombie.
Well, kill him. That was part of the plan. Kill Philip. It was like step 2 on their plan.
True. But she would not have allowed that.
they have a big garden window, right?
Ooh, that's... Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they should have stayed at Liz's house.
Yeah, it's elevated.
I think part of their thought process was, I mean, clearly not, but I'm like, it was somewhere where they could go, where they could have, like, supplies in terms of food and beverage and things. Of course, when they get to the Winchester, there is no food. So that is sort of a flaw. But they definitely, like, I could see not wanting to stay in your apartment because you would have to run out of supplies at some point and do a run. So maybe it make more sense to barricade yourselves in a pub that has a full menu, so there's at least food you guys can make. Come on.
Right? It's hindsight, but literally the zombie apocalypse only lasts one day, so you really could have just stayed at your house. It's been fine.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that, obviously. And I think they justify it by saying they want to go somewhere familiar, that's reinforceable, and where Ed can smoke. So I still think that is Liz's apartment, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, definitely Liz's apartment would have been smart.
But another thing, man, I just love every moment of this movie. But one of the funniest ones is when Shaun's looking through the letterbox, and he's like, "Oh, I don't see any zombies. Maybe it's not as bad as all that." And then he looks to the right, and he's like, "Oh, no, there they are." And there's like 100 zombies standing there. Oh, Shaun, such a soft spot for that dumbass.
He's a fun character. He felt pretty real. I felt like he had a reasonable... Like, if I could handle a zombie apocalypse as well as Shaun did, I'd feel pretty good about myself. You know?
Oh, yeah. He never really loses it, which I think would be the first thing I would do.
Yeah.
Full mental breakdown, crying, and, like, fetal position rocking. Shaun is always like, what's the next step? What's the next plan? It's just, again, it just wakes him up. It makes him face the world in a way that he just was not doing before.
I really liked, it's a scene coming up, I may be skipping ahead a little bit, when they're all kind of assembled in the backyard, and he goes to see if the coast is clear, because they're close to the Winchester, so he goes to check if the coast is clear, and then in this little backyard, and he climbs up a little children's ladder from, like, a swing set. And he hits, like, each individual step, like, pauses, and then comes back down and hits each individual step. And then they're like, is the coast clear? And he goes, no.
And they're like, how many? And he's like, lots.
So
but
that
yeah,
was-
actually,
that was cool.
the whole time where Shaun's leading everyone is great, but we did skip over what was, like, one of the most emotional parts when Philip dies.
Oh, yeah.
They say a lot that Shaun does not like his stepdad. He says that he was really unkind to him when he was a kid. Not really sure what their relationship was, but obviously Shaun does not like him, and Philip feels like he's been trying to be his dad. But then when Philip is bit and passes away, they have, like, a really nice moment where he's like, I tried to be a good dad, take care of your mom. And then he dies. And then, in classic these guys fashion, they play it emotionally, you're kind of sad, and then they make a crazy joke, and then you are right back in it. You're like, all right, who cares? But they say, he's like, Mom, there's nothing left of the man you love in that car. And then Philip turns off the music that was playing.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's go, shall we? But yeah, Philip dies. I do have a question.
Yes.
Who is the worst character, Ed or David?
Ed.
David.
I think I have to go with David.
Sticking with Ed. I mean,
Because
David sucks, but...
Yeah. But at least Ed is willing to go along with things. He accepts that there's a leader. Even though he does really stupid things, he's not actively trying to undermine the effort, which is what David is. Like, he resents Shaun so much for dating Liz that every single thing Shaun says, he has to argue against.
Yeah.
He's responsible for all the tension between the characters, honestly.
There's always got to be that guy, right?
Right?
Right, Jen? There's always got to be that guy?
Yes.
I know zombie movies.
What, you've seen 2 now?
Yeah.
3? Like, come on.
I said that sarcastically.
I know. But still, you guys should have seen like 20 zombie movies by the time you were 15, like a normal person.
I feel good about my choices. But, so it's established that he's been in love with Liz for a long time?
Yeah, I think that's also something that puts David into the he really sucks territories, because he's in love with Liz for, 10 years? And then is also, like, dating her friend just so that he could be near her. Like, that's a whole dedicated level to being a loser.
Yeah.
Like,
But
you
the
have no room to make fun of Shaun for anything. You are the most pathetic.
Yeah, and his girlfriend even knows, so she's also
Yeah.
pathetic. But in all real ways, he's more of a loser than Shaun is. For
Yeah.
real.
That's also like a pretty toxic friend group, the three of them. Because they're all aware of that weird, like, dynamic, and they're just letting it happen. Like, Liz knows that he's kind of weirdly into her. The girlfriend knows. He knows. And they're all just like, we'll just never say anything about this at all.
And they all live together,
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Pretty creepy.
right? So maybe Liz's real problem is that she needs to get out of her living situation, not that she needs to get rid of her boyfriend.
Maybe that's why she's like, Shaun, we gotta do something in life. Let's go. I need out of this crazy ass apartment.
Right? So now the group of them are walking to the Winchester, not very far away. They're trying to go through like back gardens and back alleys to get there. A lot of funny stuff happens in these. Like Barbara, Shaun's mom, falls behind the whole group. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, wait a second, where's Barbara? And then she's being attacked by a zombie. So Shaun has to save her. This is what I thought was funny. They throw him like a pole.
Yeah, it's like a little like tetherball pole.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
he tries to hit him with the tetherball. And then both of them are doing like a stabbing motion, trying to encourage him to stab the zombie. And then he does. So this zombie being pinned to the tree, for some reason, is the inspiration for the idea of them masquerading as zombies to get through the horde to get to the Winchester. So Diane, who's an failed actress, I suppose,
Yeah.
teaches them all how to be zombies. That's pretty funny. But then they go. So they're approaching the Winchester.
Sorry, just to interrupt. I do love that scene where she's teaching them how to be zombies, and they're all kind of doing their impression. And she gets to Barbara, who's just like staring off into space, kind of groaning. And she's like, "Oh, perfect." And then Barbara's like, "Oh, sorry, I just stopped paying attention. What are we doing?" And I'm like, I love it. Where she's just like complete dead face.
I also
Yeah.
enjoyed how Ed was like, I'll do it on the day. It's like,
Yeah.
today. It is the day.
And then he does this like bad impression of a zombie where he's like, "Oh, fine, you're gonna make me do it." Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Shaun's is spot on. But so they managed to get through the horde. They're at the Winchester. And then this is another one of those moments where David is just the worst. Shaun is trying to tell him that there's another entrance. But instead of listening, David throws the trash can through the window and breaks the window. So that's terrible. But it's also like, why did they think the Winchester was a good idea? It's all windows.
Yeah.
There's 100 windows. Like, it's ground level windows. I don't like the thought process of why they went there still doesn't make sense to me.
But this also confused me, going back to like what we were talking about, how do the zombies find their victims, I guess? Because they get to the Winchester and they're like trying to hurry up and like get inside because they've realized that all the zombies have noticed them now, which I don't really know why. But then Ed gets a phone call. You also can't just brush over how shitty Ed is in this moment also.
Yeah, and Shaun freaks out at him, and I think that's what gets the zombies' attention.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, these zombies don't make sense because in order to draw the zombies away, Shaun like gets their all attention and then just like runs through the horde of them.
Yeah.
I feel like they would have just grabbed him and eaten him. Like, how did he get into the middle of a group and get away unscathed?
I guess because they're that dumb and slow moving, they couldn't actually grab him. He was able to like evade them. But I think also, like, again, this is a comedy. The zombies don't have to make sense.
Yeah.
They're there to be funny.
You know who you're talking to, right?
I know, right?
Oh, right.
I'm
Sorry.
taking it to mean that they're more active at night. This is what I'm going with because
Nocturnal zombies, sure.
they become very much more threatening when the sun goes down.
I mean, isn't that like any horror movie ever? Nothing hurts you in the daytime. It's only at night when the like monster under your bed tries to grab you and stuff.
Please don't bring that into my mind.
Oh,
I have to sleep tonight.
I apologize. There's no monster under your bed. He's in your closet, obviously.
It's funny that you say that because that's where the furnace is, and so it kicks on a lot, and yeah, it scares me.
Were you wanting to do a seance like yesterday? Now you're all chicken shit.
Yeah, in someone else's house, not my house.
You were in your house.
I know, but someone else has the Ouija board. I just watch.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's do it now. Let me draw a Ouija board real quick on my notes.
Yay. Call
All
him
right,
my
well,
boss.
it's been fun being your friend. See you later.
Goodbye.
It's too late. You're on the call. The demon's here.
Damn it.
But
Anyway.
this does bring us closer. So now they get in the Winchester. The proprietor of the bar is a zombie. And he comes out from like the apartment or the basement, wherever he was kind of stumbling around. And all of a sudden he's in the midst of the group. And somehow jukebox turns on. Was that Ed being a dumbass?
I think it was
I
Ed.
think it was.
And it's Don't Stop Me Now. And then there's a dance fight scene.
It's
so good.
So
amazing.
funny.
It's perfectly in tune. Like they're hitting the zombie on the beat with their pool cues. And then everyone who's watching the fight is kind of dancing along to the dance fight.
Yeah.
But it's kind of dumb at the same time because like pool cues, they're not doing anything.
Yeah, they're just whacking them very
Yeah,
slowly, very... At least stab them, maybe. That might...
Oh, yeah, and then they try and throw darts at the zombie's head.
Oh, yeah, one guy...
And one gets Shaun in the head, which looks like it penetrates pretty far. I'm going to say that might have touched his brain.
Ugh.
Yeah, that looks pretty... Well, when he pulls it out, it, like, spurts.
Yeah, but then
Like-
it stops bleeding immediately.
Yeah, well, he wraps his head. He's fine.
Oh, yeah, he does. He does. It's all bar games to defeat the zombie. Pool, darts. Oh, and the jukebox. He ends up head first in the jukebox.
Yeah, yeah. And then is that when we realize that Barbara's been bitten? That's the next beat?
I think so, yeah.
This was sad, guys.
It was really sad. Barbara's adorable. She's so sweet. It's such a mom thing to be like, oh, I didn't want to worry you. I didn't want you to be concerned or upset you, so I'll hide this devastating, life-ending injury from you. But it's also, that seems to me, with my three zombie movies that I've seen, there's always somebody who hides a bite and endangers the entire group.
Right? It's best just to be like...
Jen looks confused.
Hey, guys.
No. I was just trying to figure what the 3 zombie movies you've seen are.
This one.
This
Night
one.
of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead and...
28 Days Later.
Oh.
There we go. That's a good one.
But yeah, don't hide a bite.
Yeah, terrifying.
Just be honest. Just be like, guys, I got bit. Go on without me. It was nice to know.
Right? Or cut my arm off. Try something. Don't just be like, well, I guess I'll just pretend this isn't happening.
Yeah, that is definitely a common zombie trope where people are like, oh, I've been bit. I will just hide this and no one will know. And it's like, everyone's gonna know, dude. Like, you gotta just...
Well, when you're in the point where you know what the bite means, right? Like Pete being bit at the beginning, we kind of brushed over that. Like, he's got a bandage on his hand and it's like, well, okay, us as viewers know, like, oh, he's clearly gonna be a zombie later. But at that point, like, he wouldn't necessarily know. Or Philip, even, wouldn't necessarily know. But... by the point that Barbara gets bit, it's like, Barbara, come on. We've been through this.
That's why I think Pete kind of got off easy. I'd like to be bit before I knew what a bite meant. Like, he's kind of lucky in that he died before he had to really face the terror part of a zombie apocalypse.
I mean, if I'm ever bit by another human for no reason out in my life, I'm assuming they are a zombie, and I will be shortly.
Yeah, what do you guys think? So the turnaround time on this was like...
Several hours, I think.
Several hours, yeah. Because Philip was, like, pretty with it for a while, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird, too, because they mentioned really briefly in one of those side news broadcasts that Shaun skips past that it had something to do with a space satellite coming back unscheduled to Earth. And so the zombie apocalypse came from space?
I think that was a nod to Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, because then I think at the end, again, when he's watching TV, there's a clip about monkeys infected with a rage virus, which is a nod to 28 Days Later.
Yeah, those claims had been dismissed and wasn't that.
Yeah, and they said it was, like, tied to the use of something, but then he flips the channel right before it says the actual, like, cause. Okay, so it could have been any of these things, because I was like, well, if it started from space, then I'm like, maybe you don't have to be bit to get it, but that's one of the ways it's transmitted, but I guess it's not meant for us to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, hours after a bite, you're biting other people. And also, if you're dead, you rise? Like if you're unrelated dead?
They don't really
I
show that.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we only see, in this movie anyway, I think we only see zombies who we know for a fact have been bitten or we just assume have been bitten. I don't know if we see people like rising from their graves.
Right. So they die, but then they are reanimated, like Barbara does. She straight up dies.
Yes.
She is still for moments, and then she comes back.
Yeah. But I think, like, if she had been, say, shot and not bit, I don't think she'd come back as a zombie.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't think there's any examples of that. Although I feel like there might be a reference to it on one of the news shows. They may say something about rising from the grave or something.
I do think so, too.
We
But I
don't
think they
see
say
it.
the recently deceased. I feel like they say that, which
Right.
might be different than, like, the buried deceased. Like, people died in the last day. Anyway.
But also, like...
all that to say.
Yeah. I was just going to say that even though the news clips are saying different things, we're only a couple hours into the apocalypse. They don't know for sure. So we can't even say, like, oh, the news said it was this, so that must be what it is. How would they know?
I mean,
like,
we're 7 months into an apocalypse here, and the news still doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, it's like, now that we're living
trust the
through a pandemic, like, the fucking scientists are finding new shit every day. Like, there's no known thing. We still don't even know how our pandemic started.
Too real.
Deep breath. Everything's fine. We're not in the zombie apocalypse. We're just in a different kind of apocalypse. Our beloved Barbara.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. And then David becomes more than just a turd. He becomes a psycho murder freak. This got so weird. David was a shitty underminer. He was always like, ooh, Shaun's so dumb. But then he's like, I'm going to shoot everybody. I'm going to shoot Barbara. I'm pointing a gun at Shaun. At one point, after there's a tense standoff where David is threatening to shoot Shaun's dead mother, obviously doing it so incorrectly and so aggressively.
Yeah, like, he's
so
not
mean.
wrong. Like,
Shaun
she
eventually
does have to be shot, or she does, you know, we do have to kill her.
Right, but the way he handles it is so bad. Escalates to tension. But, like, he's so bad that when Shaun eventually punches him, David falls down and actually tries to shoot Shaun. And that's, like, a whole other level. He's not trying to stop a zombie anymore. He tries to shoot a human being who is not infected. That's the end of David having any potential of redemption. He's the worst. I hate him.
So Shaun eventually ends up having to shoot Barbara, and it's sad.
Ugh, so sad. The fact that he doesn't have a full mental breakdown at that point is very impressive. Because that's a day. That is one shit day. But then, David finally gets his. Shaun punches David. David tries to shoot Shaun. And then David is like, fine, I've had it. I'm over this whole situation. He can tell that he's lost any credibility and everyone's against him. So he's like, I'm going out the front door.
I was going to say, as much as David sucks, it is
like
a little...
like, why would that be
a little
your thought?
Relatable to be like, I'm so embarrassed this blew up in my face. I'm just going to yeet myself into the crowd of zombies. Like, please, I can't handle being in this room anymore while you're all judging me. Just let me die.
And die he does.
Yeah.
Spectacularly. My God.
So gross.
It's probably the grossest moment in the movie, right? Like, it's the most violent, gory, in-your-face visual death.
He gets pulled out the window, and they just dive right in. His guts get pulled out, and his limbs get severed.
Yeah. You see his face the entire time as it's happening, as he's being pulled apart.
Yeah, you see the moment he dies, too, which is weird.
But I think we're always a little happy when David dies. I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, goodbye, dick.
Yeah.
But then I get really sad because what the hell is Di doing jumping into the crowd after him? But what do you think about Di following David into the crowd? Isn't that the stupidest thing? Like, I feel like she's smart enough that she wouldn't do that.
I do think it's kind of dumb. Like, from a character point of view, like you said, I don't think that anyone would just do that. Like, are you really going to go... He's clearly dead. You're really going to go get yourself dead, too? For what? Like, what's that going to solve? But I think it's more just that they needed to narrow the group down just to the core 3.
That's true, yeah. You had to get rid of her somehow. But at this point, I mean, the zombies have become alerted by the light and the sound that they're in there. They're really pushing through the windows. They're coming in. Yep. It's time.
And I don't think we mentioned, but when Shaun tried to lose them before, he actually just led them to the back entrance. So the zombies now have the place surrounded. Because, Shaun tries his best, but he is not always good at anything.
Yeah. Would there have been any way for him to lose them? Like, he didn't really...
No, I don't think there really was, unless he had hid until they dispersed and then snuck back.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there has to be a way for the zombies to communicate. Because if one zombie saw him, right? Like, even one zombie seeing him, I feel like they could alert the horde and get them to surround the bar. No?
I don't know if they can, like, communicate like that. I think it's more just, like, visual. Like, that they see that there's other zombies there, so they're like, oh, there must be something over there. Let me go join the crowd and see what's going on. I don't know if it's that they're actually, like, communicating in any way, or...
Because in my mind, it's like, if even one zombie saw him go in the door, then game over. But if one zombie saw him and went and stood by the door, would that necessarily get all the other zombies to come?
Maybe slowly over time, other zombies would kind of shuffle up and approach and be like, is there food in here?
Okay, so another horde of zombies then come in, and Pete's there.
Yes, Pete.
So Shaun has to shoot him. And this is when Ed gets nibbled on as well. Kind of gets
Yeah, pretty aggressively.
overtaken. I don't know how he managed to get away, to be honest. He got bit like several times, but he manages to get away somehow. And then Liz and Shaun end up
Yeah, and
behind
jump
the
over the
bar
bar, which I don't think Nick Frost could do.
and light the bar on fire.
Yeah, they had mentioned flaming spirits earlier. That was their like last line of defense. Does a good job. They make some Molotov cocktails at some point, don't they? And whip those at some zombies.
Yep.
But luckily, randomly, there's a trap door under the bar, and they can go down to the barrel entrance and hang out there. And that's when they have the like sad, we're all gonna die moment. There's no way out.
This is another one of those logistical things that bothered me in the similar vein to Barbara hiding her bite. Is like, we know Ed is gonna turn soon. And you've just locked yourselves in a cellar with him. I mean, I realize that you have a gun, so you can, take care of him pretty quickly. I understand he's your best friend, so you need to have that emotional moment with him. But he should not have been down in the cellar with them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and they even with the gun, they're just sort of discussing the logistics of like, can we do like a murder-suicide here so that we don't get turned into zombies? But it's like, well, you also have to worry about the Ed factor. That's a bullet you gotta use.
Right? There's no 2 bullets.
Well, there's only 2 bullets.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
They have a nice little goodbye with Ed. And, do you have more to say about that?
No, I was just gonna take us on a tangent because
Do it.
I feel
Tangent us away.
Okay.
Tangent.
Obvious
Go.
question that everyone has done a million times, but if the zombie apocalypse happened for real, what would your plan be? Like, would you go to a Winchester type pub? Would you barricade in your apartments? And this is like us real life right now, like if it happened this moment, so you don't have time to prepare or get anything.
This is a horrible question. It's
I'm
real
sorry.
dark.
Okay, well,
what options do we have? If we're not allowed to go anywhere and get anything, then we just kind of have to barricade ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can, but like you can't. It's not like you're getting warned that it's coming. It would be like if you were going to go somewhere, you would have to stop at a store with the crowds of people also panicking.
I've got my car. I've got about a half a tank of gas right now.
Okay.
Is HelloFresh still delivering to my house?
Probably not.
By the way, sponsor us.
Could it happen tomorrow? Because I'll have a lot of leftovers tonight. So if it could happen like tomorrow, that'd be convenient. Just pack up some turkey.
I'm sorry. It's
Sorry,
happening
Jackie.
right
You can't be a
now.
vegetarian in the apocalypse.
You know what? I think I'll let my morals fall at that point, and I will be like, any dead animal, I'm in.
Yeah, Austin, are you using your half tank of gas to pick us up? Because that would be great.
I mean, I could.
I'll take the dogs and my saddlebags on my bike. I'll go to Austin's house. She's got the rooftop deck.
Yes,
party.
yeah. There you go.
Okay, well, we're going to barricade at Austin's. Can I bring the cats?
Yeah. Totally.
You know what? I'll stop at work first, and I'll get us a bunch of antibiotics.
Ooh, I like
Ooh,
that. Okay.
That is good. No. I was going to say, what can I get from my work? I'm like, technically, it is like a hardware store. I can get us some weapons there. But I'm sure I'm not the only one having that thought. It's going to be a lot of people trying to grab chainsaws.
Yeah.
I got some golf clubs. That's about the extent of it.
I really want a solid bat. I think a bat would be my choice.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Maybe, I was going to say maybe a hockey stick, but like, I don't know if that's any better. I think it's just easier to find here.
It's longer, but
Yeah,
it wouldn't
you
really
get-
help in close combat.
No, maybe like poke them away from you more.
There you go. Good. I mean, it's a solid plan. What else can we do, really?
I mean, I've told you, I don't know if I've told you that I have a recurring dream where it's the zombie apocalypse
Yeah.
and I'm preparing for it. Like this dream never has any zombie confrontation. It's just me getting a farmhouse ready with all the supplies and digging a moat, and I have a backhoe and a sniper's net and a room full of antibiotics and a room full of food. So you guys can come to that. It just doesn't
Yeah.
exist at this point.
Right.
It's
right.
weird. I also have zombie dreams, or I used to have reoccurring zombie dreams fairly often, but it was never like as prepared as that. It was always very much like we are running to someone's house and the zombies are the next street over, so like they can come at any moment. It's a
Well,
lot
Jen,
more
your
panic.
apartment would probably be safer than mine or Jackie's because it's at least not on the first floor.
That's true. Zombies can't climb stairs. They're stupid.
Yeah, well, that's the other question. Are these Shaun of the Dead zombies or like rage zombies?
Yeah, I'm keeping it Shaun of the Dead zombies for now. Because
Okay.
if
Yeah.
it's the rage zombies that could run, I'm just getting eaten.
Yeah.
We're just dead. Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
plan, just panic and eventual death.
Yeah.
Because it'll be those scary rage zombies, but I will still be like Shaun at the beginning of this movie, walking around my daily business, not knowing what's happening. And then boom, dead.
Yeah.
Don't even get to my ice cream, just dead.
Yep.
No cornetto for you.
Tear.
All right, so we've established that we're all going to die when zombies come.
Yeah. I mean, that's inevitable. So, where are we at?
Well, we never talked about Yvonne, who is a recurring
Oh, yeah.
person that Shaun runs into. And she's the female Shaun, which is so great. And she's just really like a side character used to, I don't know, does she really have a point? She just is like a foil for Shaun to tell his plans to, and in the end shows up and saves the day.
Yeah, she's like got her own little group of survivors that are fighting with her, or that she's fighting with, and then they've run into each other a couple of times throughout the movie.
Yeah, I do love the scene, though, where they run into each other, where it's their whole zombie survival group, and they're all just basically exact duplicates of one another. Like, she's the female Shaun, she has her boyfriend, who's the male Liz, and then after that, it's like the slacker loser friend, the mom, like the same exact setup. It's so funny.
Yeah.
That's definitely the scene I remember the most from ever watching this movie. Like, the first time I saw it, that one just sticks in your head when they all are passing each other.
Yeah.
So funny. When we're going back to Shaun and his group, Liz and him find a way out of the basement. They leave Ed to his fate with the gun. And then they go up. They don't really have any choice at this point, right? Like, they got to face the horde, try and find a way to get somewhere else. So they go up with their weapons, and they're just about to try and fight zombies. And then here comes Yvonne with the army. Hey, you guys, it connects.
That was my first thought. It was like, of course there's army. Of course the army.
In a Jackie movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
Gotta love the big guns coming out.
Yeah, I was very concerned because they were just shooting all willy-nilly.
Totally.
You know?
They would have mowed down Shaun and Liz.
Yeah.
They were in the crossfire.
Yeah, 100%. I was very alarmed.
But it's the best ending to a zombie movie, in my opinion. Like, I love...
That I will agree with, because it ends, like, happy.
It ends.
What?
It at least ends.
Yeah.
It's over. Dot. Period at the end of the sentence. Life goes back to normal.
Yeah.
Mwah. Brilliant. Please make this happen. The army is not, like, decimated and non-functional and scattered. They're a cohesive unit that are here to save the day. And Yvonne... it's Yvonne's movie, basically, at this point, because she's the one who even told the army that there were survivors at the Winchester. Mm-hmm. Without Yvonne, they're all dead. Forget it. There's no way they're going to make it.
Yeah.
So Yvonne saves the day, and the army saves the day, and then that's it. The movie ends. The zombies are defeated.
Well, we get a little, like, 6 months later, or is it 6 months? 6 weeks? A while.
6 months.
Yeah, 6 months later thing where they've kind of gone back to normal life, and Liz and Shaun are together, and they're just having a lazy day, and it turns out that they're not really doing anything anyway. That their days consist of going to the bar, having a drink, coming home, watching TV.
Yeah. I think maybe Liz has realized that what she thought was important was not super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, this is another movie thing I love, when they live in a crappy apartment and then you see it later all fixed up and nice. I find that so satisfying.
A woman's been there, and now it has a woman's touch.
Well, also, I guess Shaun's got his shit together a bit more. I bet he has a different job now. I bet he has more confidence in himself, right? Like, he knows that he can handle some shit, so he's willing to take more.
And also, now Ed is out in the shed and not ruining the apartment on the inside by leaving his garbage everywhere.
Yeah. I have a question, and a minor bone to pick. Why is Shaun's couch so far away from the wall? Because as far as I can tell... At first I was like, oh, that must be like a walkway to the next room, but I don't think it is. I think the couch is just not against the wall. Have you noticed this?
So no one walks behind the couch?
I don't think so. Or not not to get from point A to point B. Shaun walks behind the couch at one point when Ed's playing video games, just to like lean over the couch and talk to him.
Huh. Terrible decision, though. It should be up against the wall.
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
I have heard a thing that rich people don't put their couches right against the wall, so maybe just the set designer didn't understand that poor people do that.
Why is
So
that a
why
thing?
wouldn't they?
I think it's because in general their houses have a lot more space, so they don't have to. They can kind of arrange things differently, so you'll have like artwork on the wall and then like a little, I don't know what they're called, like a little console table kind of thing with like a vase on it, and then like 6 feet and then the couch.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, wouldn't that be nice?
They also
Yeah.
probably have expensive paint on the wall. They don't want it.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. So it's like, it's not a common layout, apparently, for the wealthy. I don't know anything about the wealthy because I am not one of them.
So, Jen, I think when this episode comes out, you should release a Twitter poll. Do couches go against the wall?
Yeah, do you put your couch against the wall? And then we'll find out if any of our listeners are super rich, and then they can maybe sponsor us.
Yeah.
Send me some of your money,
specifically.
please. Help me, I'm poor.
Bridesmaid's gift. So yeah, that's the end of the movie. Well, Ed's living in their shed. We brushed over that. He's a zombie, but they keep him as a pet. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely pet. Well, I mean, everybody has. It's even, they're showing all the television specials about what's happening. Zombies are working in the service industry. Zombies are on game shows. Some people are married to zombies. They're a joke now. They're a completely non-threatening part of life.
Amazing.
But I thought that was
Very
interesting.
I don't think that happens in any other zombie movie.
That they're like domesticated.
Yeah. They're just like, meh, no big deal.
So in Land of the Dead, they are living in a post-zombie world. So there are zombies in certain areas and humans in other areas, and they cohabitate. There's also a movie called Fido about a kid who has a pet zombie like it's his dog. So there's a few.
Okay.
That's right off the top of my head.
But I agree with you, Jackie. Just like, I like the little bow tied up at the end. Like, it's not perfect. There was still some loss, but I like that they got back to life and it was just like a one-day event. And it's a pretty happy ending for a zombie movie. So
maybe we need that hopeful tone right now that life can go back to normal.
So this is a friendship question. Maybe part of the friendometer will be based on the answers to this. But if any of us were turned into zombies, like, would you keep us around like Shaun does Ed?
I'd kill you immediately. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You wouldn't let me live in your backyard and play video games?
Ed even tries to bite Shaun super non-aggressively, but that's a risk I'm not willing to take. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wow, rude.
You did.
What about, okay, Jackie and Jen, because you both have pets. What if your pets turned into zombie pets?
Keeping them.
I don't think I could do the I Am Legend.
Honestly, if my pets were zombie pets, I'd be like, this is how we all die. Because I'm going to let these cats bite me and eat my face, probably.
Yeah, that's a good way to go, I suppose.
And then I'm a zombie.
That's a very interesting question. I would have a harder time with that than, say, if you guys turned into zombies.
So rude.
But I just, like, at that point, is it kinder to mercy kill them or to, like, just leave them locked in my apartment and I peace out?
That's true. If you really wanted, if you could always just, like, release them into the wilds to go be zombie dogs somewhere else while you go escape.
But then what if they'll kill other people?
That's fine.
Oh, okay. All right. As long as it ain't me.
Yeah, I was like, I'm team pets.
Yeah.
If Riley has to kill someone to survive, I say go for it, Riley.
That's fair.
I mean, I kind of agree. That's always my biggest concern in apocalypse thoughts is like, how will I have enough food for the dogs? How will I travel with the dogs and attach them to my bike? I have to get like a jogging stroller thing. It would be really difficult, but that's future Jackie's problem.
Getting these cats into a carrier, like, is hard enough if it wasn't an urgent apocalyptic scenario with, like, air sirens and zombies outside, you know? I'd be fighting them every step of the way. They'd be like, oh, I don't want to. And I'd be like, no, you have to. Stop clawing me. I'm trying to save you.
I have a Toronto question. Are there air sirens around here?
I don't know, but in my apocalyptic movie version head, there was.
That sounds right. I'd hope they had some way of notifying us. Panic, panic, panic.
I guess it would be the, like, emergency alert text messages.
Ah, yes.
Oh, I ignore this so hard.
Yeah, we'd be like, oh, is it another Amber Alert? Check our phones. And it's like, zombie apocalypse. People are dead.
Well, that happened with the Pickering nuclear plant earlier this year. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Got an emergency alert on all of our phones saying that the nuclear plant in Pickering, Ontario, which is what, maybe half an hour from Toronto?
Yeah.
Half an hour, 45 minutes? There was a leak or something?
Yeah, and it was like, take your radiation pills. Like, what? I don't have a radiation pill. What are you talking about? And then they're like, just kidding. Mistake.
Yeah. It turned out to be a false alarm, which is good, but, like, fuck.
Yeah, fuck for real. That's it. Like, fuck. That was such a weird day.
That was in 2020, just so that
sounds like that was 2 years ago, but sure.
Oh.
Should we get to high points and low points?
Okay.
Yeah, I think
was going to say another full tangent, but yes, let's podcast.
That's That's all there is to say about Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, everyone loves it. I guess that's not great to have a podcast discussion about a movie we all have the exact same thoughts about, but you live, you learn. High points and low points. It's so hard. How do you pick a high point when this movie is nothing but high points?
I think I'm going to go with my high point being Shaun climbing the ladder one step at a time. The little, like, 3-foot ladder one step at a time. It's just, that's the kind of humor I enjoy. I don't know. And then my low point is Ed. I don't know. I just really don't like Ed. I know David is a more insidious person and therefore like a more insidious character. I just really fucking hate Ed. And it's kind of like, Shaun, lose the dead weight. Like, I get it, but he's useless. So he's my low point.
Yeah, he's pretty terrible. He's not even that funny, honestly.
No.
Like, I can tell he's funny to Shaun. He's not the comedic relief in the movie. He's not required for that purpose. So he's just shitty.
I think if I remember my 2004 self, I think at the time his humor was a lot more acceptable to audiences, that kind of like frat boy-ish annoying humor. So I could see like for us circa 2004, maybe he was a little funnier, but yeah, rewatching it now, I'm like, you call stuff gay a lot and it's just not funny.
Shaun could do better.
He does make a lot of gay jokes, doesn't he?
Yeah. Just does not hold up. I think I said earlier, but I do think my high point is honestly the scene where he's flipping through the TV and all the different clips are spelling out what's happening. I think that's just a really, like, clever scene. It's really well edited, I guess, that it's just... I don't know, I think it's very creative and very clever, and I think about that a lot when I think about this movie. I enjoy it. I don't know if I have a low point, because I do really like this movie. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it. I guess maybe what we were just saying about Ed's humor being a little dated with the gay jokes. I think we could always never have that in movies ever, and that would be fine. So yeah, I guess that's my low point.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to restate it. It's hard to narrow it down. I think my high point is the walking to the shop part, the day before and the day of the zombie apocalypse, because there's so much in that scene to notice. Like, there's so many little Easter eggs and little things that have changed, and it's just really well done. I hadn't seen anything like it, and I love it. And when I think of this movie, that's usually the first thing that pops into my mind. And I guess my low point is David. Because David is the worst, and he's a full psycho. Everything he does is, like, actually malicious and crazy. He's always trying to hurt someone in some way. And I know that you need a character for conflict. Like, you can't just have everybody getting along. But he also has a very punchable face. Like, everything about him, you're just like, nah, beat it, grown-up Harry Potter. No one wants you here. So get lost, David. That's my low point.
Fair enough.
Nice.
For trivia, there's a lot of trivia on this movie, so
yay!
We'll not be going through all of it. But
teach me.
The budget for the movie was estimated at £4 million, and then worldwide gross was about 30 million US. Well, actually, one specified US, one said pound, so I don't know, but in the 30 million range. Profit. I don't know if you guys noticed when Shaun and Liz make the plans to go to a nice restaurant back at the beginning of the movie. He's like, we'll go to the place that does all the fish. And if you look, when he opens the phone book and finds the place, it's literally listed as the place that does all the fish. Like, that's the name of the restaurant.
Nice.
All the newsreaders and TV presenters are real people portraying themselves. They had to hold back the release of this movie for a couple of weeks because of the similarity to the name of Dawn of the Dead, which came out that year, I guess, or at least in the UK. So they held it back to avoid confusion. Oh, we kind of brushed over this, but the use of the word zombie is kind of unusual because, like, Ed refers to them as zombies, and then Shaun's like, don't say that, don't call them that, like, don't say that word. And so I guess they don't really say zombie in a lot of zombie movies, right? So it's, self-aware, all that.
Yeah, most zombie movies exist in a world where there has never been zombie movies because they're always like, what is happening? I don't understand. They're coming back to life after bites. Whereas this one is very much like, oh, you've been bitten, you're coming back as a zombie, we got it, we know.
Yeah. I mentioned before that Mary was the cashier from the opening sequence. The name of that supermarket is Landis Supermarket, which is a reference to the director John Landis, who directed American Werewolf in London.
John Landis also directed the Twilight Zone movie and killed 3 people, so...
Oh.
Sorry, he killed 3 people?
Yeah, there was a big fuck-up on the set of that movie with a helicopter scene, and it killed the lead actor and 2 children.
Shit.
Oh my god.
Sorry, someone says John Landis, and that's all I'll ever think of.
I think he also directed the Thriller music video.
I gotta
Maybe.
Google this later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that. Another reference, Shaun works at Forey Electric, which is a reference to Ken Forey from Dawn of the Dead. And then the gun that is used in the bar is a Winchester 66, which is the same that is used in Night of the Living Dead.
Huh.
Nice.
So that's cool. There's obviously a shit ton of references to all of Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright's work. And what's his name? What's the other guy's name? Sorry.
Nick Frost.
Nick Frost. So there's a ton of Easter eggs, like, all throughout the movie. A lot of the actors and stuff, too, have all worked together. It's all just one giant comedy troupe. So, Jackie, you have the DVD. Have you watched any of the special features?
No, because I don't have the remote control for the DVD player, so I can only press play.
That's really funny. Apparently on the DVD there's an animated special feature that says that Diane made it out of the horde of zombies, climbs up a tree, passes out, wakes up in silence, stays in the tree for 3 days, and then she survives by eating David's severed leg, and then goes to live with an aunt, and now is still in Christmas card contact with Shaun and Liz.
Oh, good for her.
Right? Go Diane.
Starting a new
all right.
life up in a tree.
She deserves better.
Yeah. I did notice that one of the employees that Shaun mentions at one point is named Ash, right? Isn't that Evil Dead
yeah.
or something?
Yes, because I mentioned that a few weeks ago, and neither of you knew who I was talking about.
And now
I
I
was
did.
very upset.
See, you taught me something. I learned
Ash
something.
from the Evil Dead, come on.
Yeah.
I only know it because Austin just said it.
Yeah.
I said it to you several weeks ago.
There's a ton of those references all over the movie, so I'm sure I missed a ton of them. And a lot of them I think are like British cultural touchstones that we probably missed entirely. But what came out that year?
So we actually recently did a movie that came out this exact same year. Do you remember
Oh,
what
sorry,
it
I
is?
skipped over
Oh,
Jackie.
I was like, are we not doing quotes? I wrote some down.
All right, let's do quotes.
Quotes. There's so many. There's a million. So I'm just going to go broad. There's a lot of times where they say, you're dead, he's dead, alluding to what's going to happen. I mentioned it's not the end of the world when Ed's consoling Shaun, but actually it is the end of the world. And Shaun's mother saying that a lot of people don't eat meat, very prescient. We already talked about We're Coming to Get You, Barbara, which I get now. I understand it, which is very fun. I like that whenever he runs into Yvonne, she goes, how's it going? And they say, surviving. And it happens like 3 or 4 times. At first, they're just walking down the street and things are normal. And he says, surviving. And then after they actually are surviving, the standard call and response. I really like it when they're fighting during the Queen scene, as Austin has called it, the Queen fight scene. Shaun goes, David, kill the Queen. And he's like, what? He's like, the music. Oh, British. And it's so heartbreaking when Barbara's dying. The last thing she says is, it's been a funny sort of day, hasn't it? Very sad. And then, again, they have a really fun kind of moment when Shaun and Liz are actually talking about killing each other or themselves. And the fact that they will not make it out of this. And he's like, you don't want to die single, do you? And that's why they decide to get back together. And yeah, that's it. Those are the quotes.
One that I wrote down that I thought you were going to say is when Shaun is like running through the horde to get to the back door of the Winchester. And he's like, come on, it's a running buffet. Except he says he says a running buffet, but still it made me laugh.
Oh, Shaun.
So Jen,
Yes, Austin.
what movies came out this year?
So we very recently did a movie that came out this exact same year. Do you remember what it is?
No.
The Grudge?
The
Oh,
Grudge 2004.
Yes, The Grudge, of course.
So we did recently do this rundown, but just if anyone has forgotten, The Grudge came out in 2004.
Fuck
so
yeah, it
clearly not a good year for movies, aside
Great
from
year.
Shaun of the Dead.
Great year for movies.
The Dawn of
Grudge
the Dead.
and Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters
Oh.
Unleashed.
Austin, you're off the podcast. The Dawn of the Dead remake also came out this year, as Austin mentioned earlier. And then there was also The Village, The Notebook, Phantom of the Opera, Secret Window. Not great. Mid-2000s was a really bad time, especially for, like, American movies, I find. So, really not a good era.
Well, I can't fully agree with you because It was a great year for Sarah Michelle Gellar fans. Me,
There's
13-year-old
one.
Sarah Michelle Gellar fans. What now? What's happening?
That's it. We're at the friendometer, yo.
No, ratings, right?
One of these days we'll remember the order that we do things, and it'll be great.
I mean, ratings-wise, I feel like this isn't going to be a surprise that I give it 10s across the board in every way. It's so enjoyable. It's so funny. It's so smart and clever. There's so many things that are so clever, I don't even understand them, and I will never get them. And the gore is disgusting, but good, not excessive, I guess. It clicks in every way that I like, and it ends with an ending, which I definitely like. The 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
I mean, I'm in agreement. 10s across the board. I think it's so funny. I think it's a great, homage to zombie films. I think it's totally watchable. I've seen it dozens of times, and it's just as good each time. So, entertainment 10, quality 10, no complaints about this movie.
Well, I probably shouldn't have gone last then, because I don't love it as much as you guys do. It's a good movie. I'm going to say enjoyment 7 and quality 8. It's fine. I enjoyed it. I don't like zombie movies. And so this still, I can't say that entirely. I do enjoy this. The other one I'm thinking of is Anna and the Apocalypse that I enjoyed. But zombie is always going to be the last genre that I feel like going towards. So that brings it down a lot for me. I'm sorry.
I love zombies so much. I just can't.
It's the same movie. Every movie is exactly the
No,
same.
they're not. You've only seen 3.
And they were all exactly the same.
Wrong.
No, but there's just, I know it's any movie. They all hit the same beats. I just feel like I could tell you exactly who's going to die and when they're going to die and, what each big beat is. So that brings it down for me. I'm sorry.
You're incorrect.
But it is a perfectly
That's fine.
Enjoyable movie. Anyways. Do we need to check in with the friendometer? I feel like I shouldn't have gone last on the ratings. I just, brought it down.
The friendometer was totally fine for me up until Austin got all zombie movies are stupid. And now I'm
Oh.
a 0. Austin's a 0 because she is wrong.
Everyone still likes me, though, right?
Yeah, you're fine.
This is my
week.
favorite Jackie pick so far.
You know what?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
maybe.
It's because I had to pick something that was borderline some kind of supernatural element. I couldn't just pick an action movie. But don't worry, guys. We'll get back to it. The next couple ones I'm going to make you watch, you're just going to hate so much.
Speaking of, what is our pick for next week?
Oh, shit. That's a good question, Jen. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah,
Are
it
you?
It is Austin's pick.
So October is over,
Oh,
right?
God, that's depressing.
Yeah.
I think, I don't want to say goodbye to October just yet.
Oh.
And this was a movie that I think was another one of those that we couldn't believe Jackie hadn't seen. So we're going to be watching Beetlejuice.
Yay!
God damn it. I've been avoiding this movie forever. It looks so stupid. Sorry to everyone who loves it. It looks
Which is
awful.
the world.
Yeah,
I know.
which is
I'm not
us.
going to have... No one is going to be on my side with this, but it looks just so
Go in with an
painfully
open
dumb.
mind. You made me watch True Lies, and it'll be fine.
All right. That's the point of the podcast.
Yep. So that wraps us up for Shaun of the Dead. That also wraps up Spooky October. You can follow us on Twitter at I Hate Your Taste and on Instagram at Hate Your Taste Pod. We also have a website now, which is IHateYourTasteInMovies.wordpress.com. And we have merch. So we are on TeePublic, teepublic.com/ I Hate Your Taste in Movies. Check us out. Say hi. We'd love to hear from you. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. That really, really helps. And join us next time when we talk about Beetlejuice. Thanks for listening. Bye.
It's time to feel the rage. Join us on Film Rage, where we talk movies, current releases, coming attractions, streaming, and classic films as well. Directors and actors, beware as you cannot hide from the rage. My name is Bryce, and I'm part of the Film Rage crew, which also includes Jim.
Hey.
And Murray.
Yo,
Why is it you always talk all the time? I can't
'Cause I
understand
got
why
the
your
sweet,
voice
sweet
is so...
voice.
this is the Merman, the voice of reason. These two can't agree on anything most of the time. Some movies are Mondo, some are just suck. Every week something is going to make us rage. Join us every Wednesday and
Feel the rage.